Hello, hello. My name's Nicole. I'm the founder of Here Now Motherhood, and I'm really excited to be sharing a practice with you today. We're going to be doing lower back, yoga for lower back. And today, all you're going to need is like a towel. If you have yoga blocks, one yoga block will be fine. If you don't have any yoga blocks, you can use a towel rolled up like this. And I'll be using a towel today just so you can see how it works. So we're going to get started by just gently finding a comfortable seated position and closing our eyes. And as we're here, closing our eyes, just allowing any thoughts in our minds to go on the shelf for now. Imagining any to-do items or anything that's coming into your mind that might distract you from being right here and right now. Just allowing that to go, maybe in a cupboard, on a shelf, so that you can be right here in this moment. And taking a deep inhale and an exhale. Allowing yourself to just be here in this moment as we do a practice together today. Gently opening our eyes, we're going to roll over onto our knees, coming onto all fours here. Placing the knees underneath the hips and the wrists underneath the shoulders. Now as you're here, just checking in with yourself. So if you're having any shoulder problems or anything like that, you can go ahead and walk those hands like an inch forward, and that will take some of the pressure off of our shoulders. And just gently swing our hips left and right a couple of times. And as we're here, noticing just the lower back, as we're going to be practicing today with the lower back in mind. So as we're swaying those hips, just noticing how it feels and allowing ourselves to just be here with our body. Coming back to a neutral straight spine, inhaling, dropping the tummy, looking up. Exhaling, arching the back, looking through the legs. Inhaling, dropping the tummy, looking up. Exhaling, arching the back, looking through the legs. Taking that at your own pace. Using these cat-cow motions to bring some movement into the spine, waking up the spine. And as we're doing this practice together today, remembering that everything I offer is just a suggestion. So if any reason something doesn't feel good to you, maybe you have an injury, maybe you have some emotions come up that don't feel so good to you, knowing that you definitely do not have to do anything that I offer if it doesn't feel good to you. And I hope that you will listen to your body today as we're doing this practice. Feeling free to make these poses your own. Gently returning back to a neutral spine here. We're going to inhale the left arm up to the sky and exhaling, threading it through the other arm. And I'll turn around here so you can see me. As we're here, thinking about pressing this hand into the ground and thinking about opening up the chest over towards the wall. Using that breath here. Just letting the exhales get nice and long. And here what we're thinking about is opening up the chest, kind of making this a twist. So opening up that chest towards the wall wherever you're comfortable doing that. And if you need a little bit extra, you can take this hand and place it on the small of your back, maybe over by your hip. And placing your hand back on the mat, inhaling that left arm back up to the sky. And exhaling it onto the ground. Turn this away so you can see me. Inhaling the other arm up to the sky, the right arm up. Exhaling, threading it through. And as we're here, again, thinking about making this kind of a twist. So opening up those shoulders to the wall. And allowing yourself to be here in this moment. Maybe even taking this hand here and placing it on the lower back, on the hip. And if that doesn't feel good to you, go ahead and put it back. It's not that one pose is more advanced than the other or one is better. It's just what your body needs today, and what it needs today is going to be different tomorrow. It's going to be different from yesterday. Yoga is more about how we're doing something rather than what we're doing. So it's not super important if we look like a pretzel or not. And inhaling that arm back up to the sky. Exhaling, placing it on the mat. And swinging the legs around, coming to seated. Finding a nice, comfortable, easy seated position. And we're gonna take our left hand, placing it on the opposite knee and twisting over to the side here. And as we're twisting, I want you to pay attention to your lower back. Because as mothers, we've had a lot of hormones flowing through our pelvis, especially the back of our pelvis. And this is one of the things that can cause some discomfort in our lower back. If we've had babies before, then regardless of if it was a vaginal or a vaginal birth or a C-section, the pelvis is gonna loosen up with hormones that are flowing through our bodies during pregnancy. And it's called your SI joint in the back, where your pelvis attaches to your spine in the back. And that joint has a lot of stuff going on during pregnancy and postpartum. And so it can be kind of uncomfortable. And when we're twisting, if we twist really far and our spine can't go any further, that torque is gonna go into the back of our pelvis, into that SI joint in the back. So I want you to pay attention to your lower back here. And if this is uncomfortable, bringing your chest towards the front of the room more. So knowing that we're trying to do our body some favors here. So it's okay if we're bringing that chest more towards the front. We want to be helping our lower back here. And we're gonna go ahead and switch. And as we're twisting here, we want to twist from the shoulders. So as we're twisting from the shoulders, instead of twisting from the lower back, you're gonna find that it's a little bit of a different twist. And part of that is that our upper back is designed to twist. The spine in our upper back is designed for this, whereas our lower back doesn't really do that. It's not designed to twist. So when we're twisting from our upper back, our shoulders, that's gonna be a better twist for us. It's gonna have some better results for us. And maybe on this side, you're gonna notice that you wanna bring your sternum a little bit more towards the front as you're paying attention to your lower back, seeing what's comfortable and what's not comfortable for you. And returning to the front, maybe wiggling that spine a little bit. And coming down onto our tummy, rolling back here. We're gonna come into Sphinx pose. So bringing those elbows right underneath the shoulders, letting the tops of the toes rest down. and just looking straight forward. So as we're looking forward, allowing gravity to pull our lower back down to the earth, consciously thinking about relaxing the booty, relaxing the pelvic floor, and allowing our lower back, our booty, all our hips to totally relax, and letting gravity do some of that work for us, to do a stretch for us. Now, if this is too intense for you, you can go ahead and look down at the ground. That's going to make it less intense. And coming into alligator pose, bringing our arms in front of us like a pillow, resting our head on the arms. And just resting here for a moment, letting that lower back get a little break after that little workout. And returning back to Sphinx pose, bringing those arms, the elbows underneath the shoulders. Here we're going to straighten the arms a little bit, coming into Cobra pose. So noticing if this is uncomfortable for you. So if it's uncomfortable, you can either bend the arms a little bit more, or you can come back into Sphinx pose. Either is fine. Just letting yourself be where you need to be today. So giving yourself permission that if this Cobra pose does not feel good to you, then you definitely do not need to do it. So you might want to put a little bend in those arms, or just come all the way back down to Sphinx pose, whatever feels best to you. And just allowing gravity to relax and pull down your body onto the ground a little bit more to get a nice stretch in that lower back. And again, wherever you are, if you're in Cobra, if you're in Sphinx, allowing your booty to relax. So consciously thinking about unclenching the booty, thinking about relaxing the pelvic floor. So all of those muscles where the perineum is, around the vagina, all of those deep muscles inside the pelvis, consciously thinking about relaxing them. And coming back into alligator pose. Just resting here for a moment. And as you're here, bending the knees and windshield wipering them both to the left and both to the right. Taking your time here, letting the lower back relax. And lowering those back down to the ground, those legs back down to the ground. Rolling over onto the back. And grabbing our rolled up towel or our yoga block. So placing our feet on the ground, knees bent, pushing the pelvis up towards the sky and sliding this underneath the back of your hips. So we're going to place it on the sacrum, which is going to be this part of our back right here. So it's on the back of the pelvis. And you're gonna have a little bit of give in this blanket here, in your towel or whatever it is that you're using. And just allowing your arms to relax down, maybe closing your eyes, letting out an exhale. Just letting gravity do some of that work for you. Now, one of the things we're doing in this practice today is very lower back focused, and it's important to recognize that often it is possible that one of the reasons you're having lower back pain is that you have diastasis recti, which is when your abs haven't come back together yet after having a baby. So this is something you can see a pelvic floor PT for, and it's out of the scope of this particular video, but just know that this video is geared towards someone who has lower back pain without diastasis recti. And it is possible that you do have diastasis recti if you're having, if you haven't been checked yet by a pelvic floor PT. So it's just something to keep in mind. Pushing those hips back up to the sky and sliding your blanket away. We won't use it for the rest of the class. And just letting the knees rock back and forth, left and right. And grabbing the shins, pulling the knees into the chest. It might feel good to have those knees nice and wide or maybe a little bit more narrow. And just rocking left and right a couple of times. Maybe finding that when you pull those knees in a little bit, you can massage the top of your spine more towards your lower back and shoulders. You can let those knees also go a little bit away from your spine, rocking left and right to massage that SI joint on each side of your sacrum on the back of your pelvis. So massaging these muscles right here. And gently pulling those knees in and lowering them down over to one side. Bringing the arms out in airplane and allowing yourself to relax into this pose. If you need a little bit more, you can look away from your knees. And if this is too intense, you can look towards your knees. That's fine too. And just allowing yourself to be where you are today. And it's okay if you want to make it a little bit less intense today. Yoga is more about tapping into ourselves rather than doing a certain pose. And pulling those knees back into the chest, rocking left and right a couple of times, and lowering the knees down to the other side. Letting those arms come out in airplane. And maybe taking a couple of deep breaths and letting those exhales get nice and long as you're resting in this pose. And again, here in this twist, paying attention to the lower back. So if you're having any pain in the lower back, looking towards the knees to make it less intense for you. And pulling the knees back into the chest, rocking left and right a couple of times. And rolling over onto one side in the fetal position. And then gently pressing your hand into the ground, pushing yourself up to seated. I'm going to grab my microphone. And coming into a seated position with our legs out straight. So as we're here, sitting up nice and tall, stacking the spine on top of the pelvis, and coming into a little seated tree pose. So bringing one foot in, sitting up nice and tall, inhaling those arms up to the sky, and exhaling, stretching forward and coming to wherever you are today. So tomorrow you might be here, the next day you might be, even further sitting up, and that's totally fine. So we just are really about trying to find where is the right place for you today. So having a nice straight spine, pushing forward with that straight spine. And once you've gone as far as you can relax a little bit. And as you're here, maybe closing your eyes and allowing yourself to relax further into this moment. And gently walking those hands up towards the thigh and switching our legs here. Sitting up nice and tall again, inhaling those arms up. Exhaling, keeping the spine straight so you can't anymore. Letting those arms come down and relaxing into a comfortable spot. Maybe even closing your eyes here. Maybe allowing those exhales to get a little bit longer than your inhales. And each time you have thoughts come into your mind that are distracting, or maybe other things that you're going to do after your practice today, just bringing your attention back to your breath each time. And it doesn't matter how many times you need to bring the attention back. It's not so much about that. It's more about allowing yourself that kindness to gently bring your mind back to this moment. And a great way to do that is just by noticing your breath. Walking those hands up towards the thigh, bringing your feet together, sitting up nice and tall, and maybe noticing that today you want those feet a little further away from you, or maybe you're feeling flexible enough to bring them more towards your pelvis. It's okay, whatever winds up working for you. Sitting up nice and tall here, and after we're sitting up nice and tall, bringing that spine forward as it's nice and straight. When we can't go any further, just go ahead and relax down. So allowing that upper body to fall down towards your feet. You can have your hands resting on your feet. Maybe you want them resting on the ground. Any of that's okay. We're just looking for a nice stretch in our inner thighs right here. You might find that your upper body is going to fall towards the ground a little bit more the longer we're in this pose. As your body relaxes and warms up a little bit more. Gently coming up to a seated position, maybe wiggling those legs out a little bit. Crossing those legs over and rolling over onto all fours. Bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, knees under the hips, tucking the toes, pressing back into downward facing dog. And as we're here, bending those knees as much as you need to, as we've been focusing on the lower back today, really paying attention to the lower back in this pose. So on some days, you're gonna be really straight legs, and some days it's going to be more of a bend. So the more bend that we're putting in our knees, the less pressure there's going to be on the lower back. So the more, if your lower back's uncomfortable, putting a bend in those knees to relax the lower back. So as we're here, putting a nice bend in those knees, maybe even walking out your feet. And if that doesn't feel good today, you can go ahead and just come here. So allowing yourself to make this pose your own and to not think about, anything else you've seen about downward dog, but really just tapping into your own body and seeing what it is that you're noticing and allowing yourself to really be here in this moment with your body. Coming down onto all fours again, maybe wiggling out those hips if you need to, and getting ready for our Shavasana. So allowing ourselves to come onto the back and getting nice and comfortable here. So depending on, what feels good to you today, you might want to grab a blanket or a pillow or something to put underneath your knees, or you might just want to let those knees come flat down. Maybe relaxing here onto the ground. Taking a deep inhale and a slow exhale. And as you're here, allowing yourself to be here in this moment, whatever that means for you. Maybe in this moment of your life, or in this moment today, or in this moment of your practice, as your yoga practice might have been spanning for many years. Allowing yourself to relax into the ground here. Gently bringing your attention back to the room, maybe wiggling your fingers or toes, maybe rolling your wrists, rolling your ankles, gently rolling onto your left or your right side in the fetal position, maybe leaving your eyes closed still. Pressing your hand into the ground and pushing up to a seated position. And as you find your seated position here, gently closing your eyes. And noticing your breath as you're here. Noticing where in your body you feel the breath. What kind of qualities does it have? Maybe it's short. Maybe your breaths are long and relaxed. Maybe your breathing feels steady. Just being here in this moment with your breath. Bringing your hands together at heart center, allowing those thumbs to push into the sternum. Thank you so much for letting me be part of your practice and part of your journey as a mother. I appreciate all you're doing as a mother, all of the hard work and wonderful things that you're doing. Namaste.